Hello, everyone. Happy August 2nd, 2024. Hey, I'm Cheryl Poe, and I'm here today to interview an amazing woman. Um, we are so happy to have Maria Davis Pierre, the owner, CEO of Autism in Black, join us today to talk about her presentation that she will be doing at the Breaking Barriers Conference, which is happening August 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And it's not too late to get your tickets. Guys, this is going to be an amazing interview, and we actually will have some giveaways today. So make sure you stay to the end. But first, before we do that, I again need to go over what I believe is relevant information to why we are doing this conference. So, as many of you may know, I have been working with with Dr. Wiley, a professor at the Howard University, because I've been very concerned for years, decades, I can even say, about what is happening to Black students with disabilities in the state of Virginia, how they are 3 times more likely to be suspended than their white counterparts. And the outcomes for us, for our children, are dire. In addition to the report that I've shown, if you guys want to go back and look, that Dr. Wiley did, we also had a suspension progress report. And the Legal Aid Justice Center did complete this. And I want to send a shout out to my buddy Hank. He is the attorney that did the report, and you can see that in addition to his coworkers, you'll see that Dr. Wiley's report was also included in this. So just to, again, just share that, issues around Black students and suspensions, especially those with disabilities, have been something that we as a community in many ways have been trying to address for years. And even with the Virginia General Assembly enacting, right, literally enacting additional legislation related to this, guess what? It hasn't worked. They identified in this report that they need the Virginia General Assembly must continue to build on its efforts to ensure that Black students and students with disabilities are not unfairly barred from KS public education through exclusionary disciplinary practices. There are additional things that need to be done. The information is there. We know it exists. These are hard facts about suspensions, alternative schools, that Black children and children with disability have to face in the state. So because we know that this exists, because we know that our General Assembly, nor is our Virginia Department of Education, nor is our superintendent, nor is anyone else willing to address this, we are really, really lucky to have an opportunity to do a project that we believe will really give additional voice to this issue. And it is called the Advocating While Black Project, also known as AWB. And we are excited to, embark on getting the voices of the Black neurodivergent students' parents to share what that experience is like in trying to access just basic services to keep their children in the classroom. We're talking about, at some levels, just a functional behavioral assessment that can support and teach the teen why the child may be having behaviors that they want to suspend them for. How about evaluating our children to identify what their true needs are? So as we walk through the special education process, we know that once we develop that IEP, it's actually going to work, right? That the goals are appropriate for the needs of that student. So if you are a Black parent raising or caregiver raising a Black neurodivergent student receiving special education services in the state of Virginia, I want you to come to the website. I want you to click here on how to sign up. And I want you, of course, the tab is left, right? And I want you to be a part of this amazing event. So, with got all that out, my important piece. So let me share with you who we have today. For those of you who don't know her, her name is Maria Davis Pierre. She is the founder and CEO of Autism in Black. And the Autism in Black aims to provide supports to Black parents who have autistic children through educational and advocacy services. Autism in Black is dedicated to bringing awareness to all this autism and reduce the stigma in the Black communities. Join us as Maria Davis talks to us about the Black side of autism, the educational aspects, and must haves. Hey, Maria.
Hi, everyone. I'm so
How are you today?
I'm so good and happy to be here. You know, I'm always excited to anytime we get to get on a live and chit chat.
And we do. We always have fun. We always have fun. And we always throw out some truths that the community needs to know. Guys, post your questions and your comments as we go through this interview. Maria, I just want to start off with asking you about, like, why is your topic the topic that you picked? Like, why do you think that is an important topic for the Black community or those raising Black children with disabilities? Why that is important for them to know about?
So, as anybody who follows me, who's seen my work, heard my work, you know that the Black side of autism is important to me. You know that talking about that intersectionality piece is extremely important to me personally and professionally. And just narrowing it down to this special education edition, I think is imperative. Most of you may not know, I'm actually getting my PhD in special education. I'm in dissertation phase, and I will be presenting some of what I'm actually doing my study on, which is, you know, that parent engagement piece. So I think that a lot of times teachers, schools, admin do not know how to effectively bridge that gap for Black parents raising Black autistic children, raising students, Black students with disabilities. So I really want to hone in on that piece so that parents can leave with the tools that they need, and those who are educators can leave with the tools to better bridge that gap.
Excellent. So, congratulations. You are what, the third, fourth person that I will know who's recently or right there on the cusp of getting that PhD. Will I have to call you Dr. Davis, Dr. Maria Davis Pierre? Can I still call you Maria?
Yeah.
You gonna make me put that DR in front of it? I will. You earned it, right? So, how does your work in Autism in Black help address barriers that Black parents face when we talk about the intersectionality of both ableism and disability discrimination along with racism?
One, I think it's just that we're bringing the issues to the forefront. I think a lot of times people like to dance around the intersectionality. They don't really like to go into the fact that Black individuals face different types of challenges within the system. So with our work, we address it head on. I like to phrase it as an iceberg. A lot of times people will just talk about that tip that's shown, but we really deep dive into the piece that's not shown. We go and we address racism, right? We address biases, and we don't give it a nice little fluffy name. We call it what it is. So that's really how we are addressing, you know, all of these issues.
Right. So with that, without giving away too much, because I know your presentation is going to be on it. I know that. But when you talk about that iceberg, right, and the tip, you know, the special education edition of your presentation, the Black side of autism, give us a little taste of what are some of those underlying kinds of additional barriers that we as Black parents face when we're sitting at that IEP team table.
What I often like to bring, you know, spotlight to is the same racism that our children are in there dealing with when it comes to admin and, you know, staff. As parents, as Black advocates, when we go in there, we're hit with that same type of
Preach.
racism. So not only are we trying to go in there and advocate on the basics of the laws, we now
Mhm.
have to deal with that racism, that bias coming directly at us as well. And that is it can be very challenging. One, you're watching, as parents, we're watching, seeing in real time how our babies are treated in the school.
Right.
And two, now that heat is coming on us as well. It doesn't feel good,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we'll be talking about that, right? We'll be talking and holding, educators accountable. I have no beef with educators. I'm an educator myself, right? I'm
Right.
a professional myself, but I like to hold my colleagues accountable because there are times that we let the power of our role interfere with what we do. And we do not take into consideration that parents know their children as well.
Exactly. That's the biggest piece of, first of all, if you don't respect me just because of your own bias,
Mhm.
right? All that stuff you're projecting onto me as a Black woman alone, right there, walking into those meetings. Because the majority of the people that attend these meetings, the parent, it's the mom, right? It's the mom
Right.
that's going in there. And there are dads that go. Dads, I know I got a couple right now, and we love you in there. But of the majority of the people are moms, and we already know what the country feels about Black women. Sometimes that's never been a secret, and and our public education is a system, right? So
Mhm.
it is part of, not it's not developed for us, right? Public education was never something that they necessarily, that Black children were, it wasn't developed with us in mind. It wasn't developed with students with disabilities in mind.
Mhm.
And as it's evolved since laws that were developed to allow us to go, the system has structured it in ways that make it difficult for us to be educated, and then difficult to get the supports we need so we can be successful. So within your presentation and within this conference overall, right, the idea of this conference, why do you think conversations like this are important to the overall community? Everybody, Black, white, Hispanic. Why are these kinds of conversations important?
Because oftentimes people are not aware of cultures outside of their own. And
Mhm.
that can be a barrier. That can be a barrier to a white school psychologist who doesn't know anything outside of their community. And they're going into a Title I school that is extremely diverse, and they're not understanding that school did not teach you that Black people do not present like the DSM, right? So those cultural humility factors are extremely important, and conversations like these address that. So we're gonna
Yes.
do it.
And yes, and I have to give you your props, because, and your flowers, because your conference, right? Because and I was doing an interview, I guess it was last week, and I literally said the Autism in Black conference, but I meant to say breaking barriers. But I was giving you your props because I was saying, I was making the connection that, as a person, a Black mother who experienced the struggles in trying to at least get my sons what they needed,
Mhm.
getting that information to know what to do was only available through predominantly white audiences or predominantly white kinds of organizations, even though those organizations may have called themselves civil rights organization. They still lacked representation of all races for but definitely for Black voices. And I also noticed that when they did have maybe a session about the needs of the Black community and the discrepancies that they know exist, it still wasn't representative of us. And it was still very deficit based about us.
Mhm.
Your conference was one of the first conferences that I ever attended that really made me feel like this was home, right? Um, tell us about why you started having conferences overall, and then what you have transformed into, because it's been amazing. And I want people to know it's not just, that there are Black organizations having conferences to give you all the information that you need. So go ahead and tell us about yours.
Thank you. You're getting me all emotional. Well, we initially started the conference one as a means to really disseminate the information on a grander scale. We really wanted to go in and bridge those gaps for our parents, for our professionals, and two. I always say this, it was a little bit of selfish reasons because I was going into spaces being one of one, you know, in the professional side, in the parent side. And I felt like nobody's really speaking to what I'm experiencing. I can't even connect with what is going on here because you're just blatantly not addressing the fact that race is a factor in a lot of the things that we have to navigate. And I also felt that there was no representation of us who actually have lived experiences. Those of us who are autistic, those of us who have ADHD, those of us who have whatever disability, it wasn't represented in any of the places that I was going to. So I wanted to create that space for us and have parents be able to see there are some Black autistic adults right here who are giving us some truth right now. They're telling us, here's some Black neurodivergent adults who are telling me this is what it's like for them. Now I can vision this for my child. So we really wanted to create that safe haven where we didn't have to code switch, where we don't have to mask, and we can just be our authentic selves and, you know, have that rapport and build that community with one another.
Yes. And you do a great job at it. I know it feels like community when you're there. And we started this the first time last year, and you were a wonderful supporter and behind my back the whole time saying, yes, we need this, but we need this also where we are focusing on everything special ed. Yes. And it was scary. It's scary to step out there and do it, but you've always been a support along with other members of what we call the Black Collective Advocacy Network, right? We're like you said, we are usually one of one or maybe one of three. I'll give some places that in spaces that have like 500, large amounts of people in training. And again, we're like you said, we're not represented. And that is something that I am proud of, like being able to find quality. And like we are talking top tier people here too, right? So it also gives parents an opportunity to say, you know what, even though Cheryl's neurodivergent and is ADHD like crazy, she's still able to be successful. She's still able to give to the community. She's still able to find a path that works for her. And I think it's, and you all do the same thing in your conference too, right? That the representation goes beyond just skin color, right?
It does. And I think it's so hard for Black parents to envision the future for their children a lot of times because that representation isn't out there for us. I had to, before I got my own diagnosis, when I was just in the form of a parent raising a Black autistic daughter, I had to actively search to find representation of her and be like, oh, where are Black autistic women out there? Where are the girls? Where are they? And, you know, finding them and making sure she could see herself and know that she is not alone in this. And I think, you know, shedding light to what we do is super important because people just need that representation. People don't need to feel like, oh, I go to these other conferences and they're telling me to bring cookies and lunch to my IEP meeting and then we're going to get what we need. That doesn't work for us all the time, right? So knowing that we're getting customized solutions that fit us, that are culturally responsive to us is what is so important.
I agree. And that's on so many levels. Not only, you know, just how to navigate the IEP situations and comments that will be made to them that will hurt. I mean, it'll stain. But then also knowing about the kinds of services they can access, right? And how to speak the language to get that speech therapy evaluation and services, or how to say, no, I'm not going to come pick my child up let's instead have a meeting to look at what we can do to change the IEP to support my child staying in school. Knowing how to maneuver through the no's, or even what I call the intentional barriers that they put up, sometimes. So how about this? How about you share an example of like a situation where you had to provide some support to a family around their child being Black and autistic, and the school just respecting those aspects?
Oh, there's one story that I have permission and consent to share. I like to start that for y'all to be like, we gonna report her.
Right.
There was a family that I was working with who, I'm not going to say the specific country in Africa because then it would, narrow it down. Right. They were from a specific country in Africa, and they were in a Midwestern state. They had moved there, and the IEP team was trying to have this child attend physical therapy to learn how to use utensils. And they were talking so negatively about this child in the IEP meeting. Why doesn't this child know how to use utensils? This is, ridiculous. It shouldn't be. They are of a certain age, they should know how to do this, that, and that with the utensils. And I simply just stated to them, have you asked the parents if they use utensils in their home, if that's a part of their culture? And they stopped and paused, and mom let it be known that that is not something that they do, that they do use their hands to eat their traditional food, their cultural food in their home. So it's not that the child couldn't use utensils. It was that the child was accustomed to not using utensils, but they were making it such a big deal when all you have to do is ask a question before you dogpile and make it a negative situation. They were not thinking culturally responsive.
Yeah.
I've had it in my own home where, practitioners come in and every representation of said child is blonde hair and blue eyes. My child can't represent to that, cannot relate to that. Right. So what do, right? They brought in hairbrushes that my child would never use. It's not a Black girl hairbrush, right? So
I would cause some real trauma.
Right?
Trying to get that through.
So I think a lot of times practitioners and professionals, they do not have diverse representation of the populations that they are serving, and then they blame the actual clients as to why that they that there's no rapport building.
Right. Exactly. And she was at your first conference, right? Was she presenting?
Yeah, at every conference.
And she talks here. She's like, I'm 53 and I like to eat with my hands. Right.
You give me the right dish, I'm eating my collard greens and my cornbread with my hands. And, a lot of people, when it's outside of their culture, they're seeing it as a deficit base. I speak in music and TV to my close ones, right? My family. I'm going to say something like my office hours are 9 to 5, right? And people will see like, oh, if they're in my community, oh, that's a 5 heartbeats line, right? But if you're outside of the community, you may think, I have some sort of language impairment, right? Yeah. So you have to understand the population you're serving, which we will be talking about in this workshop.
Yep. And I said, can you describe some common, and I think you kind of talked about it, but let's deep dive into it some more. Can you describe some common misconceptions about disabilities and being Black and how they impact the families that you work with?
Most definitely. I think one is that Black people are not autistic. That's one of the biggest.
Wow, really?
We are still fighting that stigma and that misconception and myth
Wow.
like no other, especially when it comes to evaluators assessing Black children. So it's so important to evaluate appropriately. It's so, listen, I'll be big giving. It's so important for our
I knew that was going to make you laugh.
to be culturally responsive. So that is a myth that we are still fighting, because Black children have such an uptick in being misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. So that's a stigma, that Black fathers are not involved.
Talk about that.
This is one that gets my husband going, because Dr. Berry is very involved, people. So just to know that all Black fathers are not absent, right? Like all white fathers are not absent. All Hispanic fathers are not absent. But when it comes to our community, it's constantly having to fight that myth of, oh, their daddy is not involved, or you have multiple dads for your children, and things of that nature, which if I did, it would be my business, right? And what does that have to do with you providing services to my child? Angry Black woman is another one that we have to constantly,
wait, can we throw in nasty now?
Yes, listen.
Angry and just nasty Black woman.
The adultification of our children, right? My son has been adultified. My youngest daughter has been adultified on many occasions. So trying to fight that. And a lot of times people don't understand, when it comes to the intersection of race and disability, we are oftentimes not able to discern which is ableism and which is racism, because they're so intertwined for us. Right. So
yeah, big time. And Ithia makes a really good point. Not, with this, white kids need a nap, but Black kids are ill-mannered and have no home training. Exactly. White kids, yeah. Oh, they're just dysregulated. Black kid, oh, he's defiant, he's oppositional, he's uncooperative, he's combative. And this is language I see in IEP meetings about our children. And I get on them every time. No, we're not describing them as criminals when they're 5. We're not going to do that. We're going to stop this.
Exactly. I saw the word terrorist in an
IEP. Oh.
Y'all getting at it. And I will say that no home training is a trigger for me, because I'll be like, my child is not a puppy. So please stop.
Ooh. He's not a pet.
Not a pet. So please don't bring that over here. It's not.
But we sit here and we talk about this and we laugh about it, and we're laughing at the absurdity of it. Let's be clear, for those who are watching, we're just laughing at the absurdity of this. This is craziness. But however, this is information, though, that has been peddled to everyone. It's been peddled into the educational systems. If you go back, look, we had the super predator theme by the Clintons, right? And then any body of work, like during that time period of the late 80s, early 90s, talks about the idea that Black children are so more violent, right? And the violence or their misbehaviors, or because there was the household, the absent family, and they never did any of the research to look at the environments and how the people that are working with these children treat them and view them. So there are lots of advocates out there. There are lots of teachers out there. There are lots of school personnel. There are lots of therapists out there that actually still believe that, because it literally was taught to them. Right? And it was a big lie. It was a way to hide that racism is still driving our public education system as it relates to how it harms and tries to remove the Black community out of the school. Yeah.
Exactly. It's working as it is intended. A lot of people will say, oh, well, we evaluated them. The evaluations are inherently biased when it comes to Black children. As a practitioner, the DSM was made on, white males. I am not a white male. I don't present as a white male. I have a lot of knowing how I have to interact in society, and that causes me to have to code switch and mask and do these things. And if you are not a culturally responsive evaluator, you're not going to be able to see past that to accurately go and give me my diagnosis. Black people with anxiety may show up with that defense mechanism and be, a little angry, right? That's how it may show up. But if you are not culturally responsive, then you're not going to know. You're just going to be like, oh, this is some sort of behavioral issue.
We need to get him out.
Exactly.
So guys, like, listen, if you want more of this, more of this detail, amazing information, I am posting in here so you can click the link and get your ticket today. And we're doing some giveaways, aren't we?
We
are. Well, before we do that, I want one of the important pieces about pulling this together and having this conference is not only are our speakers able to talk the intellectual, policy, procedural kinds of information that we're going to be giving in a way that our community can hear and know what to use with it, we have personal stories that probably reflect some of the experiences of those who are attending and trying to get this information. So can you share a personal story or experience that profoundly shaped your approach to advocacy?
I will share one that has profoundly reshaped my approach to advocacy. This is my oldest child is going into her second year of middle school. As Cheryl has made mention, she, shaded me in a previous live of how I was so spoiled by the elementary. We have a great elementary.
Oh, you caught
that? We have a great elementary school. Our elementary team is top tier. They truly go above and beyond what a lot of us experience. Now, last year, academic year, when my child's transitioned to middle school, I did not experience none of what I was accustomed to. I probably called Cheryl twice a day, every day, telling her, guess what is going on? Guys, I was dealing with the fact that they were just blatantly disrespecting, disregarding, and not adhering to my child's IEP. They had taken her out of her culinary program, replaced her in a different educational setting. They were not adhering to the actual types of classrooms and educational settings that she was supposed to be in. And they were doing all of this without informing us, without communicating with us. And it was extremely stressful having to, explain this abrupt transition to her, and then fighting to get her back in her correct educational placements. I was going to parent-teacher meetings where, other people were in there and making their lunch and not wanting to leave.
Can we just stop? Parents, we're just going to give you some basic free advice. If you have a teacher-parent conference meeting with your teacher to go over some sped ed concerns or just educational concerns, no one else should be in that room, just there eating their lunch. That is confidential information. You don't need the janitor or anyone else to know, or the bus driver or the secretary, or even staff teachers, right, that have nothing to do with your child. They're a totally different grade. They don't need to be there. It needs to be a respectful conference where the parent can feel safe sharing information, and the teacher should be prepared and paying attention and not watching TV while you're in that kind of setting. And we laugh because it's ridiculous. But these are the kinds of things. Go ahead, Maria, I cut you off. But they are the kinds of things that happen, especially in
middle school. That transition was extremely hard. So I had gotten lazy in my personal advocacy for my children, because I literally, and still now, show up to those twins IEP meetings and don't have to say nothing, because the elementary school will handle it before I can even fix my mouth. We also have a special education attorney that attends every single meeting with us. And before I have to say anything, she handles it. She did the same with the middle school, but the fact that we have had to really changed the way in which we were maneuvering was something that was so new to me. I was not accustomed to having to literally go in and reread and be like, are you making sure that you are in this placement? I was checking her schedule on a daily basis to make sure that they weren't messing it up again, right?
Right.
So I have to get back on the horse of advocacy and understand that that transition from elementary to middle school is one of the hardest transitions, not only for our children, but for us as parents as well, because they're now seen as little adults. And I have to constantly tell the school, these are children, that
Right.
you're treating them like adults, but you're adultifying them in that manner. They're still children. You should still have a connection with the parents. You should still be communicating with the parents, because my child has also a communication delay in that what is being said over there may not translate all the way at home. And if you're relying on her to do that, things may get lost in translation. So you have to be better. So that's recent stories, and I'm gearing myself up for
yeah. So when does it start for you all in Florida?
The 12th, and I already told Cheryl to get ready, because
I find it interesting and lovingly joking with her, because I like, see, you had years of no issues, because my issues that led me to this work, they started off as soon as my kid entered school, right? I didn't have an opportunity to have good teachers during the elementary years. That's where my fight started. It took until high school for me to really have a case manager and teachers that understood it. But I don't want to go over, or like not address how wrong what they did to your child was, right? Parents, the school cannot change your child's placement. Where the IEP says your child's going to get them services, you've signed it, you've agreed to that. They can't just make that change and not tell you and just send the schedule home with the child to say, oh, you in these classes now. That is a violation of your rights, because you weren't informed. And who arbitrarily thought that this was okay? Did they even know if your child has a disability? So there, that's a major violation. I kept saying, oh, please let me file a complaint. Oh, please let me file a complaint. Please.
Cheryl knows what we were going, because it was actually found out in her IEP meeting, and they were literally trying to change things on the screen as we were talking. And I was like, what's going on here? My attorney's like, stop touching the keys. Stop touching the computer keys. What are you doing? Yeah. And it was in that moment that they had to admit that they had her in the wrong placements, and they were trying to shift it to not take that accountability. It's been an extreme tug of war with this particular middle school on having them do. And I know some of you are probably like, well, why is she still there? Because she won't let me take her out. Okay. I would have been taking her out and put her somewhere else and homeschool her. But she actually loves her culinary program. She loves the friends that she's made. So for me, I don't want to disrupt that for her, because she is unaware of, outside of them just snatching her out of that particular class, which we got her back in. She's unaware of all that's going on, because I'm advocating so hard for her. So that's why she's still at this raggedy school.
So I want to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart. And this is also something that I know, you are considered an expert on as far as research and your professional side. And that's looking at this myth, or this I think false premise that's been put out in the Black community, that if there are more Black teachers, there are more Black administrators, more Black superintendents, more Black therapists in our public schools, then discrepancies with expulsion will go away somehow or be reduced. Black children Black children overall, Black children with disabilities will be less likely to be moved into alternative schools. What are your thoughts on that
Cheryl,
myth?
Cheryl is setting this up very nicely because she already knows. The middle school is 90% ran by people who look like me. Okay. The principal, uh, three of the vice principals, the special education coordinator, the teachers that were, not having other people in the parent teacher conference, all of them look like me. So it wasn't if the person looks like me, they're going to understand more and they're going to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. As I always say, all skin folk are not kinfolk. They were not doing what they need to do for my child. And I know if they weren't doing it for my child, then as a whole, they're probably dropping the ball. It doesn't make any, it doesn't mean that just because you are a Black individual that you are going to go ahead and look out for us. Sometimes we're working in systems where it's easier for us to work against us. And maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe they got lack and lazy in how to go and actually adhere to policy and procedure. But I'm not the parent that you can do that with. So when they're coming against me, they're really you're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to know your policy because I'm gonna hold you accountable as such. So yeah, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and this school they look like me.
They look like me, but they are not like us. I just want to go with that. I did an instant interview, a recent interview with a family I had been working with. Like, how like you have that one case or two cases every year that just get to you. They get to your heart because you see the struggle of the child, right? Yeah. This is a child who was 27 weeks old. I have permission to share. I do. You have recorded where the parents say, yes, you can share this. The child was born 27 weeks early. She weighed 1.5 pounds at birth. The family worked with everybody to get this child as healthy as possible. She was 5th grade in a public school, Hampton City Public Schools. And they hurt her. I mean, they literally physically hurt her to the point of where she has seizures now. And no one wanted to take responsibility. And we talked about this live about how everyone was Black in this situation. And this child was Black, and how if we want you to believe this myth you're selling us, that when we have representation in our systems that look like us, that our children are going to be protected, that there's going to be a sense of shared experiences around systems, and that we're going to work together. But when we challenge it, people like me, when I challenge that, girl, the backlash, let's talk about that. What is that? What is that piece that people don't want to see the child, and they're more worried about the reputation of the adults that are causing the harm? What in your profession, in your work, because you work a lot, with Black families that are up against it with schools?
I think there's a lot of pieces in that. One, people don't like to be held accountable. People don't see children as human beings. People don't see Black children even more as human beings. People don't respect individuals that have disabilities. There's so much that intertwines in that. Educators are underpaid, they have policies that interfere with them doing their work, which is a truth. However, that does not mean that me and my child are then subject to your backlash because of you being underpaid in your field. That has nothing to do with us. I'm sending my child to school. You got to do your job, right? So I think there's so many reasons that lead to that. And then the crux of it all is racism and ableism that we have to deal with. And people do not like to hear those words. We say racism, people automatically get defensive and feel like, oh my God, you're calling me a racist, this and that. And I'm just calling a spade.
Oh my God, like he shot him.
The tears start to flow in. And as you know, that the tears really trigger me, because if I see the tears, I'm like, only people crying here should be me and my child. I don't know what you're crying for, because you are the staff person that is supposed to be implementing this stuff. So the fact that you over there crying, if you ain't shedding them tears because you upset of how you treated me, save them for your own time. So, you know, I think it's just so much.
Yes.
This is the real talk that y'all get with me. I do not code switch. I do not mask. You hire me, this is what you get, right? So I'm always going to be me, because it's so important that things aren't fluffed. I think a lot of times when it comes to this type of work we do, people like to fluff it and make it more palatable for people. No, we need to hear the real truths, because this is really life or death for me and my children, and I don't have time to play games with you.
Exactly. That is wonderful. Oh, look, I just realized I can see us on Instagram, and we got Cynthia Daniels. Hey, Cynthia, I'm gonna give you a shout out. How you been? We haven't seen you in a while. We have something called Everything Autism. Thank you for joining us. We have Bobby Reynolds X. Hi, sorry if I messed up your name. Free to be me speech, and she's saying absolutely yes.
Her. She's she was the individual who was from Australia that was at our conference, and she's speaking at our Black Girl Summit. Hey, girl.
Oh. Yes. So this is going to be a question that's going to take some time. So let's talk about this. How has the landscape? Well, no. I got two big questions. Which one you want first? You want one A or B? You get to pick.
A.
Okay. A is, how can the broader community, the white community, support and contribute to the efforts of breaking down barriers for families, for the Black neurodivergent family? You know, parent raising a Black neurodivergent child getting SPED services.
Me and you had this conversation earlier.
Question, right?
I was telling Cheryl about an experience I had. And what I told this individual is that a lot of times white allies will like to come in and speak on behalf of us, create organizations for minority populations, but it is not represented by the population that they're serving. So if I am creating this minority organization and my entire board is white, everybody that I've consulted with is white, is this organization really for me? Because you haven't consulted anybody outside of your purview that can really give you information on the issues that we are truly going through, that we are experiencing. So when I'm talking to my white allies and the white professionals who want to focus in on this work, you really have to be consulting with individuals that are in those communities. You can't just be making it up as you go and hoping it sticks to the wall, right? And then you really have to, as I say, take that bullet, right? You need to, if you see something happening, I don't want you to write a Facebook post about how it really disgusted you. Did you do something in that moment that I was being harmed? Did you stand up for me? Did you give me solace, right? What did you do in that moment that was actionable? Did you stand in front and actually use your privilege to stop that harm? So what are we doing when it comes to allies who really want to help our community out? There has to be actionable steps, because a lot of times what I'm seeing is allies get in and then they do more harm. And then more trauma, and then it's stuff that we have to work on. So I'm not saying don't do the work. I'm saying consult with the community that you're wanting to serve and make sure that you are doing actionable stuff that isn't harmful to the community.
Right. Excellent question. Thank you. So did you all hear that? Right? That's what we need. Yes. Thank you. Use your voice to be that ally. You see it happening, you stop it. You see it in the schools, you see it in the hallways. Pull that parent to the side, make sure that parent knows. Do something to help save our children.
Yes.
you know? And the next one is, how has the landscape of disability advocacy changed in the recent years, and particularly in Black communities?
In regards to people caring about us, or
Well, in regards to us, the landscape overall, right? About acceptance of disabilities, the varied disabilities, and then the need to increase awareness and learn about how to accept children or adults with disabilities, and even maybe have you seen a change in the level of engagement of Black families wanting to learn more? So, any landscape shift that you've noticed since that day you were sitting in the office waiting for that therapist for a week, and it came down to where you are now? What changes?
Neurologist, yes.
Neurologist. Yes.
I'm going to answer this in two parts.
Okay.
I'm going to talk specifically about our community, and I'm going to talk specifically about the community that is not us. Okay. So, for our community, I am seeing an uptick in parents who are actively wanting to know more, actively not feeling the shame and that comes along with sometimes saying that I have a disability, my child has a disability. I think that has to do with a lot more Black disability advocates using their platform to show that I am your child, right? I'm experiencing what your child is going through. So I think having that representation has truly changed the landscape for Black parents raising disabled children. And I love to see it. I love to see parents, putting boundaries down to stop generational harm with their children. I love to see boundaries to stop that. Hey, we're not doing this over here with my kid. So I'm seeing much more of that, and I am so here for it. Now,
yeah, me too.
The community that is not ours, I will say, since the murder of George Floyd, I'm seeing a lot more performative actions where I don't want to be lumped into being racist. So let me say that I want to change the landscape of what we're doing, but I'm really not backing it up. So I see a lot of performative actions with organizations, and that is hurtful because, again, if you are truly serving our communities and you don't want to be held accountable for the harm that you're doing and inflicting, then that's a problem. So I'm seeing that uptick as well.
Yeah, real interesting. And Mary Shoots Cosby said something about parents in denial. And I'm seeing less parents in denial. Like, they still exist, right? It's still there. But this past year especially, I've been amazed at parents that have been like, I wish I would have done this last year, or I wish I would have reached out to somebody when he was in elementary school. So to me, that is progress, because you're accepting the fact that the denial doesn't work no more. I got to figure out what's going on so I can maneuver through this process. So, yeah.
And sometimes that denial can be a protective factor for Black parents, because you know what it's like to live in society as a Black individual. And sometimes it's like, oh, if there's another label, what does this do for my child? So sometimes it is a protective factor, not saying it's a good one. Right. I'm just saying that is sometimes how parents are maneuvering.
Yeah. And that's why I hope with this conference, Breaking Barriers. Now, I know this conference, Breaking Barriers, will disrupt that myth for parents. Because what we're going to do is be presenting that, look, it is okay to have a disability. I have one. Maria has one. I think at least 90% of my presenters have and acknowledge they have some sort of disability. But they're all professionals. They're all people that are thriving in our community. Having a disability, having autism doesn't mean your child can't be successful in life.
Exactly.
Having ADHD doesn't mean that your child can't thrive, that your child can't learn, that your child can't learn to even manage emotions. Am I still extremely impulsive and get in trouble sometimes for it? Yeah, but all the time. But we've learned the coping skills of Okay, these are the situations we know this is a possibility before it happens. So I'm just really, again, this is our second year doing the Breaking Barriers conference. I'm excited about it. And we're going to go over some information about the actual conference, but you got a fellow Floridian here. So it says, I recently relocated to Florida from Virginia. My son had an IEP, and the previous school has stated that my son completed his high school diploma and satisfied all his graduation requirements. I withdrew him in April, and the school indicated his graduation date was May 6th, almost 3 weeks before his entire graduating class. While on homeschool, VDOE is saying that they can't do anything about rescinding this decision, which prevented us from enrollment into high school here. All this time, he hasn't had access to, and then it stopped. That sounds like a major
violation,
big issue, and you got two probably of the worst states when it comes to special ed that you're dealing with. You got Florida and Virginia. Right, he got Florida and Virginia. Neither one of them have a good reputation when it comes to addressing special education and actually making school districts implement the regulatory language. But in our state, I mean, they're helping school districts conspire against it. Now, I will say, what I will say is what you're talking about too. It sounds like there was a transition issue. And that is covered under IDEA. So somebody sounds like when that little bit dropped the ball, because there should have been some communication between, the one state to the next state and making sure that everything was done correctly. But things like that happen all the time to our children.
All the time, even for those who are not moving from state to state. Florida is truly Florida horrible. Okay. I'm a Floridian, so I can say it. Florida is horrible with the education. They're not even making sure children who haven't transitioned from one state or the other have all of their requirements for graduation. So I'm pretty sure there was some miscommunication, ball drop, people not talking with one another. But I would tell you for sure, one, hire Cheryl. Two, hold their feet to the fire when it comes to holding them accountable for what they are not doing. They're just hoping that you don't continue pressing them to make sure that they're doing what they need to do.
Thing.
Hold them accountable and say, hey, this is not right. Hey, this is not adding up. And then hire Cheryl, because when she comes in, she's going to get straight.
Yes. And I like working with the State Department in Florida to file complaints. They do a much better job than Virginia. Here's what. Right. For one thing, right? The individuality is huge. Yes, I agree. Are we accepting of those who learn differently? Is there implicit bias? So let's talk about, that's a huge question. Let's just say that, yes, implicit bias about all kinds of things, right? The implicit bias about if your child's Black, that's going to be right there in the forefront when dealing with white educators and Black educators. Are we accepting those who learn differently better? Let me put that to you, Maria. What do you think?
No, I don't think schools are equipped for learners who learn differently, especially now with there being such a even larger teacher gap. It's always been a problem. It's gotten worse, particularly in our state with our governor. It's gotten even worse. And now we have teachers who do not have any formal training on dealing with different learners. So because of that and their biases and not knowing that Black children have a higher chance of not having any kind of diagnosis and categorization because of racism and biases, it's that gap is just widening for us. So I think there has to be some sort of change in accountability held for the education department as a whole when it comes to different learners. Some states do good, but some just do not understand that children learn differently and they don't want to do what they consider extra work even though it's not, to make sure that these children are successful and are having the same equality as their peers.
Yes, yes. And she says, I really do need help. I have mediation with OCR next week. I just finished one with OCR today.
Listen,
I was
Cheryl is
glad to
very
be
humble.
done.
Cheryl is very humble when it comes to these things, and she does not like to say
Oh
how
my
much
God.
of an expert, you see how she's getting, as expert she is when it comes to complaints, when it comes to OCR, when it comes to doing any kind of state complaint. That is her. She gets giddy. She is when I'm telling you she is a expert, she's gonna be talking about it at her conference.
At a conference, yes.
And get a ticket and
Get a
get
ticket.
VIP or platinum VIP, because she's going to be doing this in her session. That's what she's taught. You're getting one-on-one time. Cheryl is top tier, creme de creme when it comes to OCR. She's just being humble, but she truly handles it. Okay. And she's not she's scared attorneys at IEP meetings. They have left. I've seen it. I've been on the call. They literally have hung up and we ain't see them no more. Cheryl is an expert. Okay.
I appreciate that. And you are right. You are true. I love doing complaints. I filed a systemic complaint against Virginia Beach Public Schools. I currently have an OCR complaint against the whole state of Virginia. And you're right. I am kind of like humble about that. And I don't know why. I just kind of thank you, Athea. I just, the complaints are a way to change. I'm not an attorney, right? So I can't go and sue, because if I was an attorney, I'd be suing everybody. So I use what we have. And that's one of the things I am going to talk about. That's one of my presentations at the conference, is how to file a state complaint, a state complaint. And even though I titled it state complaint, I'm going to then show, like, if the state, right, you're following state complaints and the state isn't doing anything, how to then take that information and file a complaint against your state department, against your state Department of Education with the Office of Civil Rights, because they have an obligation to protect our children and they're not doing it. So yes, please join us and talk. Look, Maria, I'm going to keep you up there. I know there's nothing wrong with it. I know there's nothing wrong with it. I know. Look, I'm a Black woman, Athea. You know they beat me up. So
let me tell you, Cheryl, when she gets in those meetings, there's a whole shift in her personality. She gets real busy. Okay. I just like attending meetings with Cheryl because it brings me joy just to see her navigate those situations. She really does have a gift in making sure that schools are held accountable.
They have to be. I mean, they're rule books. They have a rule book to follow, and then they give it to us and don't expect us to know how to use it and implement in the way that our children are getting what they need. And that's why we're having this conference, right? Because that's what we need to do to protect our children from the intentional harm and the purposeful neglect that I believe they experience just by being Black and disabled. So Marie, let's talk about the conference. I'm going to leave you up here. I'm not going to put you down because I love the way you talk about it. So guys, this is your time. Get your ticket. This is the Breaking Barriers Together, a special education advocacy conference for the Black disabled community. And as we talked about this today, right, Maria, this is a space for us. There's a space for you to come to learn how to file a complaint. This is a space where you can come and hear Maria talk about the Black side of autism and what that means in the educational realm. And how do you use that information so when you go to those IEP meetings and it's coming up quick, for that 24-25 school year, you have the tools you need to take away some of that stress, the stress that you experienced last year or years beforehand. So come check it out. Here's some additional information that you can learn about the conference if you come here and click on the YouTube or just watch my Facebook page. So let's talk about the tickets. we have 3 level of tickets. We have general admission, we have the VIP, which is one of the most populars, and then we have our platinum ticket. And this is new this year, this platinum ticket. We're going all out, right, Maria, on that one.
Yeah.
So your general admission is what you get access to the live presentation. We use an app that makes it extremely easy for you to access it, not just sitting at your desktop, but at your laptop, on your phone, on your tablet. It allows you to watch it in the comfort in your home, in the space that you want to be when you are hearing all this wonderful information. You will definitely have speaker engagement. You see Maria here, right? You know, during her presentation, y'all gonna be talking. She's gonna be sharing. She's gonna be talking. She's gonna be answering some questions. And you know how we were talking about earlier, how men aren't always involved. We've added an extra session where you're going to see Maria Davis and her husband, Dr. Maria Davis Pierre, and her husband, Dr. Barry Davis. He's not a Davis, just Barry Pierre. Dr. Barry, I'm sorry. And then we also have Dr. Huff that's going to be doing it, and her husband, Nathaniel Huff. So these 4 individuals, this is going to be a powerful, powerful session. So you'll be able to ask both men and women questions and engage with your speakers during this conference. You'll have real life opportunity to network. There's opportunities for you to set up meetup groups. So say you're at the conference on Friday, we're done, and you're still excited and you want to do a meetup with other participants, just talking about the other sessions that you have, that's an opportunity for you. I know the speakers will be setting up other opportunities for you to engage them. We have icebreakers. The speakers will have those. You'll be able to go to their actual speaker site and ask them specific questions and see if they have any giveaways. A lot of the speakers will be offering some giveaways. And one of the things that I love doing the most is, what is that board called? The leadership board?
It is.
Yeah. You going to tell on me?
Yes, I am, because we use the same platform for our Autism in Black conference. And Cheryl has been a speaker at every single Autism in Black conference. However, she gets in the app and she is over there in competition with our attendees to try to get first place, because first place is always a great prize. Hence why you want to get your tickets to this conference and get on that leadership, because I know in my spirit that that first place is getting something good.
It's getting something good. It's getting something real good. But we're not going to let you know what that is until the day of the conference.
You got to be a participant. You got to be an attendee. You got to
be attendee to get it. And for all of this, it is $129, which is an excellent price for the quality and level of resources that you're going to receive. You are going to be able to leave this conference at the general admission ticket price and feel empowered and have the tools to really have a less stressful school year when it comes to getting your child the appropriate services that they need. And then we have the VIP ticket. So everything that you get under the general admission you get, but you also then get access to all of the sessions for up to a year. And the great thing about that, Maria, and I've done this with yours, is there may be a time, say in February, where I need a refresher on a session. I can go, you'll be able to go to the vault, check out that session and refresh you so that you feel that you still have the skills, tools, and energy to do the work on that particular topic as you did when you first left the conference. It gives you the opportunity to keep the energy going. It gives you the opportunity to access specific aspects of how to advocate as you experience the rest of your school year coming up. And I really find that amazing. And then we have the post-conference networking party. And guess who's going to be there for that?
Who?
He's like an owl. Who? Maria Davis and Davis Pierre and I will be together doing some work with our VIPs, some individualized if nothing, networking opportunities just to discuss how we got where we did, being extremely transparent about the traumas and the struggles. Even though we sit here and make it seem like it's easy, it's not.
Yeah.
And we know it's not. So it is a low key teaching session. You're going to be really able to dig deep into your child's IEP. We're going to ask you, part of that VIP package is you have your IEP either in front of you or electronically, because we are going to be doing a deep, 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 deep dive. So, and then we're going to also do the VIP session where during a lunchtime where we can just sit back and have our lunch and listen to some music and chill and just kind of find community with each other around what it is we're about to embark on and what you've learned up until now. So get your ticket for that. And then
Can I say something about your VIP level.
Yes, let's go ahead. Yes, would you like to say?
For $249, you're getting one-on-one group access with me and Cheryl going over your IEPs. I guarantee if you go to Cheryl's website and you go to my website and you click on IEP service, it's not $249. So get
Not at all.
and you get to have help, customized help with your VIP, your IEP. Also, I already know that my freebie for VIP ticket holders is creme de creme. So if you want access to that, you need to be getting the VIP
ticket. Yes, a ticket. Yes, yes, yes. And then our biggest one, and this is my first year doing this one, but I'm really excited about this platinum ticket, right? So you get all the services in your general, you get all the services in your VIP. But guess what? You get an additional year of being in our community. We are developing and advocating for kids community. You will be in that membership within that year-long community. You're going to have access to me I think we're doing bi-weekly live Facebooks. I'm going to keep you guys updated with, okay, progress report should be coming out. This is some of the information you should be seeking and looking at. You will have access to me and some of these speakers, because I'm going to invite Marie to come in and talk about some stuff when we need her to be throughout the year. So you're going to get that. And in addition to that, you get access to me throughout the year for this price for one-on-one coaching. I'm going to give you 3 sessions of one-on-one coaching throughout the year. Y'all, that alone is worth, I'm not even going to tell you how much.
Exactly. Go to our website and you'll see. And for the next 2 people who buy a platinum ticket, Autism in Black, hence me, is doing a 30-minute one-on-one session. So if you're on here and you want to go and get that platinum ticket, the next 2 individuals who buy from here to just the next 2, Cheryl's gonna let you get a 30-minute one-on-one session with me.
Marie, thank you so much. I appreciate that, because man, you can't beat that. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. We are giving away thousands and thousands of dollars with this platinum, because just me alone, right? I mean, to have services with me for a whole year at our lowest level, that starts at $3,000, guys. And that's having me there for your IEP meetings and all that other stuff. This platinum, not only you're going to get the community, you're going to have access to me for those coaching sessions, at least 3 throughout the year, and you're going to get a one-on-one with the CEO. I know. Just
so we're giving away some tickets. So
yeah, are we? Yes. All right. So for our general admission tickets, we're gonna give away. What word are we using this year?
Oh gosh, gotta make it easy, because it's been we always make it hard. We're gonna say choose me.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. The first, how many are we giving away, Maria? 2?
I'm going to give away 1 general admission and 1 VIP ticket.
Oh, sweet. All right. So we'll have 2 different words. So we're going to start with the general admission ticket. You guys are going to have to, you want to do VIP first? You want to do VIP? We can do VIP first. And the word,
they're going to wait until if you do VIP second, nobody's going to try to get the general.
Okay. We got choose me. Right? The first person that I get an email from at that email address that says choose me will get a free VIP Breaking Barriers Together, a special education advocacy conference for the Black disabled community as sponsorship through the Autism in Black. That is, we can't beat that. Y'all can't beat that. I mean, that is going to be amazing. Amazing. And we need another word for
I'm here.
What is it going to be?
I'm here.
Okay. ADV. It's same email address, and it's going to be I'm here. And the here's got to be in caps. All right. And I'm not going to put which is which. So you'll actually have to listen to this whole video to figure out which word you want to email to me. So that way we'll know. And what I will do, I will be announcing our the winner of this, Marie, because our time is up. We're 16 minutes over. Ooh, Dr. Barry, don't get me. But we will definitely be announcing the winners of both of these on Monday. I will pop in and do a live and just thank you all for being here today. Maria, close us out. First of all, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for so many things. Thank you for doing the work that you do. Thank you for believing in our community and wanting to give resources out. And thank you for the support that you've always given advocating for kids. You are a truly good collaborator and friend, and I appreciate you and everything that you do. I'm going to let you, I have someone, look, I got him. I got some, Jasmine, Jasmine, you won. Choose me, please. I just got it here, Maria. I'm going to send that to you so you'll have it. And LaTanya Tate, you were close. You were second. But that VIP, she got it. That was quick. Now, guys, remember, there's another one there too. I know that's the big one. She got you, she's staying there, but there's still another ticket out there. So congratulations, Jasmine. You just won the free ticket for VIP that was donated by Autism in Black. Maria, close with us. What do you want to close with?
Well, one, Cheryl, I'm going to give you your flowers. So thank you for taking on this pesky little Autism in Black advocate who hunted you down and wanted your mentorship and pressured you and made sure I became a part of your family. Thank you for truly being the pioneer in the work that you do. Thank you for not giving up on Black families when people have come at you time and time and time again with the disrespect, with the racism. Thank you for sticking to it and making a better world for our children. So I want to give you your flowers, and I want to tell you all that y'all need to get a ticket because this is just a little appetizer of what you are going to see for 3 days at the conference. There is not going to be another time that you can have Cheryl in this intimate setting for that price, because next year those ticket prices are not going to be the same because Dr. Barry is not going to have them. Make sure you are getting your ticket because we want to see you there. I want to see you there. I'm so excited because I know I'm going to have my paper and pen ready because I stay getting all these tips from Cheryl. So please let me see you there with us. So make sure you're getting your tickets.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.